of this series on Agent Zero, which is the CodeLabs Pro Agent Zero platform. So in the previous part, we saw how we could do a web search using Agent Zero. And in this part, we're going to continue from where we left off. And what we're going to do is convert our web search tool into a agentic RAG or retrieval augmented generation tool. So let's make a copy of the Agent Zero web search tool and rename it to web search, or we'll rename it to file search RAG agent, where RAG stands for retrieval augmented generation, which basically means that the files that we provided are used as input to the context window of the language model. So in order for that to work, we can add a parameter to our tools, and instead of web search preview, it's going to be file search on our tools section, and in the other section, which is our vector search key value pair, we need to add the vector store IDs. So vector store is where the files are going to be stored. And so once we create a vector store on the back end, we're going to then call our function for getting the environment variable. So we'll put our vector store ID as an environment variable, and here we're getting the environment variable from our environment. So to create the vector store, what we need to do, well, one more thing here, instead of input equals prompt, we can let that be input equals prompt, and we can set this to many. That's fine. So let's go ahead and go to our dashboard on storage. We'll create a vector store here, and this is the ID of the vector store. So right now there's no files uploaded, and we just have a default name for the vector store. So what we could do is add a file, and we'll just pick a research paper here called Sparks of Artificial General Intelligence. And while it's uploading, let's check the parameters here. So it says chunk size is 800 tokens, chunk overlap is 400 tokens. So that's how it creates the embeddings in the vector store. So when it's doing a search on our query, it actually looks for the nearest match on the token embeddings. So let's wait for it to upload. While it's uploading, we can set our vector store ID. So okay, so that's uploaded now, and we say attach. We copy the vector store ID that we have here, and we can now export vector store id equals the vector store id. So now this goes into the environment here, and what we could now do is run our agent. So now when we do a query on our vector store, what we can get is a query based on so now when we query here, we still need the API key, so I'll provide that on here. And we can query it to ask about the paper that we just uploaded. So we could say, can you figure out if there are sparks of artificial general intelligence based on the sources provided? Please cite, oh wow, please cite source in the document provided. So now it's going to actually use the document in the context, and it's saying vector store ID's array is too long. Type. So we're going to check the vector store ID length. So maybe I'll just paste this directly onto this here in the dict or the dictionary, and let's see if that would work. So again, I need to put the API key in. And I can just ask, please tell me about the prospect of artificial general intelligence based on the sources, and please cite sources. Let's try that. Okay, so now it said the name is not defined. So let's check the documentation on here. So if we go to our API reference and check the API for vector stores, so here it says that we could create a vector store like this. That's for creation, and for retrieving Let's check our code again. Maybe we put this in quotes here. Yeah, that's probably what we were missing. Rerun the app. Add the API key back in. Please tell us about AGI. So it didn't find the vector store in the org. And let's check if it's the correct ID. Maybe it needs to be in the same project as the API key. So I'm going to switch the project and create the vector store here. Copy this ID, paste it in here. Rerun the app. And let's launch it in here. Paste the API key in. And please tell us about Sparks in AGI. So this time it's actually going in, looking at the paper, and it's retrieving things about AGI. So those are things it retrieved from the paper that we provided. So thanks for watching. This is part 3, and see you on the next part.